Imagine a tester who begins with a scanner, finds an open service, launches an exploit, and only later asks what the objective was. Even if the target is authorized, this is not a reliable methodology. A professional penetration test is a sequence of connected decisions. Each phase produces information that guides the next, controls risk, and supports a defensible final report. A lifecycle gives structure to the engagement. It prevents random testing, reduces duplicated effort, and helps the team maintain scope and safety. It also improves coverage because the tester moves from broad understanding to focused validation. Every important decision can be traced to evidence, and the client can understand what is happening and why. The lifecycle is not a rigid one-way checklist. New evidence may send the tester back to an earlier phase, but every loop remains documented and controlled. In this module, we use a simplified, complete lifecycle. Preparation and scoping define the mission. Reconnaissance builds an initial picture of the target. Scanning, enumeration, and vulnerability analysis identify reachable services and plausible weaknesses. Exploitation safely proves selected findings. Post-exploitation validates the real impact within the authorized limits. Reporting converts technical evidence into risk, recommendations, and a basis for remediation. Evidence collection continues across all phases. It is not something postponed until the end. Preparation begins before touching the target. The tester confirms authorization, objectives, scope, rules of engagement, communication channels, tools, timing, and success criteria. This phase produces a test plan. Reconnaissance then gathers information that can guide later work. Passive reconnaissance may use public records, domain information, technology clues, and documents without directly probing the target. Authorized active reconnaissance may interact lightly with the environment. The output is not a vulnerability claim, it is a structured target profile and a set of questions to verify. Scanning and discovery determine which approved systems are reachable and which ports or services respond. Enumeration goes deeper by identifying versions, configurations, application functions, users, shares, or other exposed details. Vulnerability analysis interprets this information. A scanner result is only a lead. It may be incorrect, incomplete, or irrelevant to the actual configuration. The tester validates context, removes false positives, and prioritizes findings by likelihood and potential impact. The output is a reasoned list of hypotheses that may justify controlled exploitation. Exploitation attempts to prove that a selected weakness can actually be used. The goal is not maximum access, it is the minimum reliable proof required by the engagement. After successful exploitation, post-exploitation evaluates impact. Depending on the scope, this may include identifying the achieved privilege, the accessible data, or a possible path to another approved system. Persistence, lateral movement, or sensitive data access must never be assumed to be permitted. The tester records commands, timestamps, results, and cleanup actions, then stops when sufficient evidence has been collected. Evidence is collected throughout the test and protected according to the rules of engagement. Reporting then organizes that evidence into clear findings. A useful finding explains the affected asset, the observation, reproducible steps, supporting proof, realistic impact, risk level, and a practical recommendation. The report must distinguish confirmed facts from assumptions. The engagement creates value only when the client can act on the result. After remediation, a retest verifies whether the weakness has been corrected and whether the fix introduced a new problem. Now classify several actions. Confirming the approved targets and testing window belongs to preparation. Reviewing public DNS and technology information is reconnaissance. Identifying open ports and service versions is scanning and enumeration. Comparing the observed version and configuration with known weaknesses is vulnerability analysis. Using an approved test account to demonstrate broken access control is exploitation. Recording the achieved privilege, collecting minimal evidence, and removing test artifacts belongs to post-exploitation. Writing the finding, impact, and recommendation belongs to reporting. Notice that the tool alone does not define the phase, the purpose of the action does. The key message is that a penetration test is a coherent, evidence-driven process. Each phase answers a different question, produces a specific output, and prepares the next decision. The process can loop when new evidence appears, but it should never become random.